Now, you ready?
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm having problems in the chase where I'm going fast, so I left foot brake, then modulates to some to build grip again, but I always straighten. That happens in the first two runs. The last videos, I hit the wall. How can I stay off the wall? I feel I'm transitioning in the right place, but just have too much speed. Handbraking makes the corner wheel, creates bubbles. Adding extra angle makes me leave the zone early. What should I do to be on the wall or not slam it? Not slam it. So, uh, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go very quickly again over this video that we discussed before, and I'll cover pretty much the same things but way shorter. Then I want you to give me your feedback because you already tested these things, and I want you
Yeah.
to explain a bit. So let's go very quickly. Do you see the video from the share?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna put it on full screen. He initiates, you initiate, you had some breaks, you tap him, and then you try to like maintain the angle using the brake, but it doesn't work because like you cut off the gas, and you're afraid to hit him. Like now this like fear because you already made a contact, the fear of another contact stays in there, and it just screws you mentally. So what I advised you before is just stay on the gas, because I remember how I tuned this RX-7. Super gripped up. You're way more hooked than probably anybody that comes in, and if anyone is like gripped as you will have a super easy time. So if anybody can maintain your speed, like your grip, it's easy. But when somebody's super slower, this is where I found the most problems. It's a big struggle. It's a lot of work you gotta put in. My advice was go on the brake and stay there. Don't try to modulate the brake. You don't want to do that because it's like imagine in a real car, you like somebody just goes on the gas then lifts it off, goes on the gas lifts off, or like he doesn't press the brake pedal like normally, but like his foot is shaking, and you have like this shakiness, like you're gonna be rocking back and forth, in the car, which is very unpleasant, right? So this is kind of the same. You don't want to play that much with the car. It's like you brake, weight goes to the front, then you slam on the gas or increase the gas, then the weight again slowly goes back, and it's like you can't settle the car in place, but also be able to slow down, which you're trying to achieve, right? So your goal is he's slower than you, you've got right in the spot, and you want to just slightly wash off the speed. So you could like mimic his speed and equalize that and be able to chase him. So what you want to do is just when he flicks, you flick, but you're super fast. I like that you massage the car in like place. So the flicks with RX-7 can be very volatile, like very aggressive. So I like that you braked to kill this intense rotation that you usually get. I really like how you like braked the car into a nice transition and massaged it, settled in there like sideways. Now the car is settled. What you had to do is stay floored on the gas. That's not a problem. Just brake and put it on 20% or 15% or 10%. Find what works for this guy so that you slow yourself down slightly enough to be next to him, but don't over brake where it will actually put you in a tighter line than he is, if this makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you see you're modulating and this upset the car, so you unsettled the car went sideways, it locked in sideways in an angle, and then you unsettled the car. You don't want this to happen. So this is why I told you just hold the brake on, and you can apply one advice that I told you about the walls. You can also apply it with these guys. You could slowly steer yourself, because the way I tune this car is just it goes sideways, it locks in, and it kinda, I'm not gonna lie, it does change the driving style that I'm used to control the car with the foot, right? You know that. So, and I've mentioned it a lot of times that I like to correct the car, just rotate the car, everything, mainly to control everything with the throttle. But here, when the car just goes locked in, it's so easy and so nice to steer yourself. Actually, turn the car with the steering nice and slowly, and you just follow these guys. So that's about the first one. in your head, if you structure it the way you want, we can start with this. Tell me how these advices that I gave you last time, uh, did they work? And if they did work, how did they work for you? And like what you tried and what happened?
So this first clip, I did try braking like just steady behind slower cars, and it worked. But I felt that I would be a lot like lower, like offline than them. Like I would be lower on the bank, and they would be a bit higher up. And I didn't know why that would happen. But I wouldn't be slamming into them. I was keeping a steady, like just steady behind them. And then like I did try it on other tracks too, and it worked. Like just keeping a steady brake instead of just modulating the brake.
So it did work for you to not slam into these guys that are way slower than you, like here.
But it would put me offline. Like it would like I would be lower angle and like they would be higher up on the bank and I would be lower, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's because of just the braking washing. It first washes off a lot of speed that will help you to go wider because like obviously more the bigger the speed, the wider you go. So that might what you can do about this is have you tried slightly less amount? How much in terms of amount you were using? Do you remember?
Maybe 20.
So you could try to
I kept it
lower.
around 20.
I see. You could try to slightly lower the amount. Like I'd suggest try by 5%. Try lowering it by 5%, like exactly like the elimination method. You start from somewhere and you start slowly to get it to find the sweet spot. Obviously, depending on who the guy is, like how gripped up the car that you're driving with, will determine obviously how much braking you need. But you could try 15, you could try 10. I think here, if you went next to him after initiation, you settled the car, and you gave like slight 10%, and if you needed to slightly slow yourself down, you could gently push up to 15 and slowly come back to 10. It's like modulating, but this time it's not gonna overwork your brain, because if you stay floored on the gas, you could use the gas as well while you're braking just to slightly control how much grip you have. You could do that, or you could just slightly increase and lower the braking as well while you keep the throttle steady 100. It's like your brain doesn't get overloaded by modulate the throttle, modulate the brake, but you're like, okay, throttle stays the same, I'm just slowly working my brake on, if that makes sense. So you could try this and see if this will still put you too tight on the line. You could obviously utilize the handbrake, but really depends. It's not a good idea to be handbraking on the wall, because like you need, when you come off the clutch, you're gonna get like a clutch key. You're gonna start pulling towards the inside. So you really want to just be braking next to these guys just to wash off some speed. There's a long distance where like you guys need to drive with very shallow angle, so that you can cover all this space and maintain the speed needed to go through all this, if this makes sense. So handbrake is not going to be a great idea. Maybe at the beginning slightly to settle the car, and still, I think you need to generate this big speed at the beginning, like that flick, and you can use a little bit of braking to just to settle the car and then follow the guy, if this makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's pretty much anything you want to add about these two situations, like with this car here, when like the guy is super slow in the brake, like consistent brake. Yeah, if it's too much brake, it's gonna put you way, it's gonna wash too much speed of you, and you'll start to go way too tight because you're very grippy and he's like very slidey. He's slower because of this as well, but he could go wider. It's all about obviously speed and grip, but you want to maintain, if needed, you might have to maintain slightly shallower angle and keep the braking, but this will, depending on the car and how it's set up, it can be quite annoying and quite of a challenge to constantly steer yourself to make sure the car's steady. I'm pretty sure you had some moments. Did you had some moments where you try to get close to him, like maintain the car in this angle, this spot, so you could follow him, and you have to steer yourself a lot? just to counter steer and like keep navigating the car, I think it's hell of a work.
Yeah.
So it's trouble. There's no easy way around it. I don't want to lie to you. When if you're super hooked up and you chase guys that are way slower with their car is just set up way looser. It's nightmare. But when you go against the people that are very quick, you can have a very fun, easy time. So about the wall, or at least this is how I felt it. Like when I drove these cars, when I tested them, this is how I felt. Like chasing somebody slow is nightmare. Chasing somebody that's fast is like dream come true. Usually you might want to balance it out. You know, when you tune the car, you want to balance it out. So if you know the track, the place, you could like loosen it up a little bit. So like you're like okay chasing these guys and okay chasing the other guys. You know that there's like always there's a trade off, if that makes sense.
Yeah.